Today on Locked On Rockies, kind of a grab bag of things. Brenton Doyle wins the Gold Glove, so we got to talk about it. I agree with a piece from Purple Row calling for more Silver Sluggers, and the Rockies do make a pitching addition. All that and more on today's episode of Locked On Rockies.
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 6th day of November in the year 2023. I'm your host of the Locked On Rockies podcast, Paul Holden, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk. I am your Rockies fan extraordinaire, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk for over 3 seasons now and been following this team my entire life. We are free and streaming on your favorite streaming services, and you can find us on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where you can be part of the show, just like Tracy 635, Rob V14, Blake Carter 1312, and lots more when you post your Rockies thoughts and hot takes in the Locked On Rockies YouTube comment section. Be part of the show and subscribe to the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel to help us out. Really do appreciate that. All of your subs really do help the show out. Today on Locked On Rockies, we are talking about Brenton Doyle winning the Gold Glove, a piece from Purple Row from Joelle Milholm, talking about the importance of this, the lack of Silver Sluggers and why I think it's important for the Rockies to get back to that award. And the Rockies do add a pitcher there through waivers, hoping for another bounce back season there. Talk about all that and more on today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Before we dive into everything today, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. So, in what should have been obvious news for all sorts of folks, at least the folks that know ball, watch ball, and saw Brenton Doyle play defense, obviously he wins the Gold Glove. Wasn't really much up to debate here. And all the you look on the reaction from the comments here in the Rawlings post, and some people aren't obviously rooting for their team and a little bit confused that he didn't get or why is it this guy? Who is this guy? What's that name? And this continues to be the emergence of Brenton Doyle, and he is highlighting the fact that this just was one of, if not the best defensive performance in center field that we have ever seen. And it was actually a historic one as well here. And this is from Patrick Saunders. He's pulling from Elias Sports there, that Brenton Doyle is the first National League rookie outfielder to win a Gold Glove in history. And he's doing that at Coors Field, mind you. This is the type of setup for Doyle that this is why when we talked last week, that potential is there. Because when you're that good here, and what really looks like for Doyle, the ceiling can only go higher. Because if this is truly the floor for Brenton Doyle, you're going to manage at least for the next couple of seasons because the defense is that good. Doyle is going to be the reason the Rockies win close ball games. Doyle is going to be the reason games stay close. That defense is so critical now for the Rockies because you look at these highlight plays. You look at just search Brenton Doyle and you are seeing all sorts of stuff. It highlights how important there are. And one of that I was seeing that our friends at DNVR Rockies were pointing out here, and Patrick Lyons, this was his Brenton Doyle's favorite play was this full extension play that he had at Fenway, which you watch this come off the bat here, and this is a screamer. This ball is laced in what looks like it will be at least could be a double in the gap if he misses it. Rocketing, but it's full extension. He's there, and it keeps Austin Gomber in a groove. It keeps a one-run ball game in the third, a one-run ball, starting off a one-run ball game right off the bat instead of an immediate first pitch in the bottom of the third extra base hit. Doyle prevents that from happening and helps keep the Rockies in that ball game. Very, very good stuff from Brenton Doyle, and it matters. I mean, it's as much as it's a popularity contest, as much as it doesn't help the Rockies. This matters because it shows that the Rockies are at least going to get noticed when they perform. When the Rockies are able to show off and flex like Brenton Doyle did a ton throughout his time in this season, it is key for the Rockies to build on this. It is key for the Rockies to get the next step out of Brenton Doyle. But really good news. I mean, especially overall, the Gold Glove, though, from this, it makes you just feel a little bit better. It's a good news piece for the Rockies, and we'll take that. You know, we'll need that. Is it needle moving? Are the like we talked about with Brenton Doyle in the past, and like we talked about when we previewed the Gold Glove? Is this really going to move the needle overall for the Rockies? Is it going to change the landscape drastically? No, but it shows that the Rockies might have hit on something really unique here, and if they can build on it, the Rockies are going to have a really unique center fielder that is going to be a huge answer for them and a huge plus. Even if the steps forward offensively are only moderate, Brenton Doyle's defense in center field, especially at Coors Field, will be hopefully an even bigger game changer for the Rockies in 2024. Now that we know that he's capable of doing so, and we know that he was able to shrug off that scary wall collision as well in the season. We know that he's able to take good care of himself and kind of deal with the wear and tear, but that is something we'll have to keep in mind as well with him being the projected starting center fielder for the Rockies as well. Some more reaction here from some of the media members here covering Brenton Doyle getting that Gold Glove. Patrick Lyons here, while speaking to Carl Ravitch on the Rolling Gold Glove Award show on MLB Network, Brenton Doyle personally thanks Charlie Blackmon for helping his growth in mastering the massive outfield at Coors Field. Again, that's the leadership stuff. That's the importance of Chuck. That's the importance of having a guy that's played longer than any other player on there, than anybody else in Major League Baseball on the same team. And that's after I don't know if shocking is the right word, but it still feels shocking. The shocking announcement that Joey Votto will no longer be a Red was wild. But anyway, to circle it back to the Rockies, that's why it matters. That's why it's so important that you have a guy like Chuck, because that insight is valuable, especially now. Chuck is going to be the right type of guy for Nolan Jones and Brenton Doyle to continue to learn from as they go through the sophomore year and navigate kind of the sophomore slumps and the adjustments everyone's going to make. I think that hearing that comment just kind of reiterates the fact that Chuck in 2024 can be a nice boost for the Rockies as well. Patrick Saunders here has comments from Bud Black on Brenton Doyle. Brenton is so deserving. What is just as impressive, he did it as a rookie. His arm, range, jumps, and instincts were all on display this year. We're proud and excited for Brenton to have received this award. Let's see. He is the third Rockies center outfielder to win an NL Gold Glove and the first Rockies center fielder. So not only the first NL rookie outfielder to win the Gold Glove, he's also the first Rockies outfielder to win a Gold Glove award. Larry Walker winning it in 97 to 99, 2001 to 2002, and Cargo 2011, 2013, and 2014. He's a stud defensively and really great, really great, and really hopefully we're going to see a lot more. Brenton Doyle, that was Patrick Lyons, by the way, the other Rockies outfielders to win that award. And let's see, I think there was one more thing. This was funny. This is from Cespedes Family Barbecue there on Twitter, with Brenton Doyle winning the Gold Glove prompted this very fun stat search. +2 defensive WAR and -1 offensive WAR in a single season. Rockies, Brenton Doyle at the top of the list there, but some of the other names in there: Nick Ahmed, Jackie Bradley Jr., Yadier Molina, Ray Ordonez, Roberto Clemente, Jackie Hayes. And what's interesting is this is the third time a Rockies player has had this type of a season. As Clint Barnes did it for the Rockies with the 3.2 defensive WAR and a negative 1.4 offensive WAR in 2006 for the Rockies. And Juan Uribe had a 2 defensive WAR and a negative 1.3 offensive WAR for the Rockies in 2002. So some interesting, just a little bit of connection there. So not the first time the Rockies have had a really good defense with players that are great on defense, not so great on offense, but hoping for more from Brenton Doyle there. I want to read a little bit from this piece from Purple Row and highlight the fact that while the Rockies are getting recognized on defense, they have gone ice cold when it comes to getting recognized on offense. Let's talk about that coming up in segment number 2. But before we do that, got to tell you about some of the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes FanDuel. Score early with the NFL season with FanDuel, America's number one sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you think the Broncos are well rested, you think they're ready to rock coming up here against the Bills on Monday Night Football, whoa boy, then why don't you go check out all the offers available at FanDuel, including that money line bet, so you can get yourself $150 in bonus bets. Go for the upset. Bet on the Broncos. Believe in them. Why not? If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. And the app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon for all of your NFL betting action. FanDuel, the official partner of the NFL. Don't miss out on that deal by checking out FanDuel.com/lockedon for $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast for free and streaming on your favorite streaming service, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. And if your team is the Colorado Rockies, you're in the right spot. That's what we do around here. We talk Rockies baseball. We bring you Rockies talk every day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Find us on your favorite streaming service. Find us on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel. And shout outs to you out there, our everydayers, the folks that are tuning in and enjoying this podcast, or whatever you might feel about the podcast. As long as you're tuning in, we appreciate it. And here we go. Let's dive into this piece here from Purple Row. And it just highlights, again, something that as we enter into the free agency period, as we enter into the trade part of the offseason, as we now enter into where the front office handles business, it's a good reminder that this team is lacking in power. This team needs to really needs to break this drought of lack of silver sluggers. And I know that really shouldn't be a benchmark thing, but for the Rockies, it's been the standard for most of the life. And it really shows when the Rockies have someone that does this, then they're capitalizing on their strengths of Coors Field and their environment. Let's read here a little bit here from Joelle Milholm. If Rockies are going to be good, they need to get back to silver. There were 0 Rockies on the list of nominees for the league's best offensive player at each position, with 3 to 4 finalists for infield position, the utility category, and the designated hitter category, and 7 outfielders in the National League alone. To not have a Rocky on that list says a lot. The power surge in Colorado is real. In the most hitter-friendly environment with a gigantic outfield and thin air aiding home run flight, the Rockies couldn't even finish in the top 3 at any position. The Rockies haven't had a Silver Slugger winner since 2019, when Trevor Story won the award for his 35 homers, 85 RBI, and 971 OPS. At least the Rockies had finalists in 2022, Brendan Rodgers at second base and Charlie Blackmon, a designated hitter. In 2021, Herman Marquez. In 2023, nothing. The Rockies have now gone 4 seasons in a row without a Silver Slugger winner, which is the longest drought in team history. Before this, Colorado only had 8 seasons with no Silver Slugger honoree. There were only 2 times when the Rockies had back-to-back Silver Sluggerless seasons, and that was in their first 2 years, 1993 to 94 and 2004 to 2005. In the Rockies' 31 years of existence, they've had 32 Silver Slugger winners. The Rockies have had 3 Silver Slugger winners twice in one season, 1996 and 2018, and they've had 2 winners 8 times, 1995, 1997, 2001, 2002, 2010, 2015, 2016, and 2017. That's when I see this stuff and when I see the dips in offense, like I can't even fathom 35 home runs, 35 home run hitter for the Rockies right now outside of maybe Nolan Jones. But that offense and that consistency in generating and building offense was showing that the Rockies were able to tap in and produce really well at home. But for things to go this far south, for things to go, for this to be the longest streak, for the power outage to feel like it's gone the longest in Rockies history, this has to add into the mindset of how the Rockies get better. The current trajectory, the current approach, the current philosophy, the current work the Rockies are doing as a hitting staff and and towards their hitting just isn't working. It isn't enough. This Rockies team needs to have players finishing at the top of the leaderboards when it comes to offense, especially with the benefits they get at home. Cores can't be the only thing. This team has to also take it and translate into hitting on the road. That's a big thing about, I think, why you've seen the Rockies lose out on this award and lose out on having finalists in this award and be at the bottom of so many categories is just really struggling with the home and road splits outside of just a handful of players. These are the type of trends that you look at over the last few seasons, and you really wonder, are the Rockies preparing to deal with this? And can the Rockies overcome the issues that are mounting while this team is retooling and rebuilding? I think the Rockies will be a better offensive team next year if healthy. That's certainly the case. I think when you look at the projected lineups for the Rockies, and when you look at that, even if they don't make if they don't make any moves, I think this team has the potential to take step forwards in terms of offense if healthy. The Rockies are a better offense with Brendan Rodgers in the lineup. Chris Bryant will help the offense in some ways. The power numbers, I don't think are something we can feel confident in with the Rockies' current roster and current setup. Nolan Jones should lead the way. The Rockies could have a handful of 20 home run hitters next year. I just need to see it more. I just don't know necessarily think I'm fantastic, or I'm just not overly confident in the Rockies being able to rebuild and retool this streak. It's not a good, this is not the standard. Not being in the offensive conversation for the Rockies is really one of the missed out opportunities that the Rockies have faced. I mean, this team really shouldn't be such a snoozer on offense. And as they go through this offseason and they go through thinking about potential trades, they have to consider that. But it really does. I think what we have to come to terms with, though, most likely, is that we're going to see a very similar team next year. I don't think the Rockies are going to see too much different. I don't know how big of moves the Rockies will really make. The biggest move will still be if they move Brendan Rodgers. I think the one that could happen, that could have the most potential. And on the inverse of that, if they keep Brendan Rodgers, I think he's the guy that's going to have the biggest impact on the offense next year. I think he's going to be the biggest factor when it comes to the Rockies being a better offensive unit, scoring more runs and hitting more home runs. I think this year is a year that we really need to see Rodgers be an offensive leader. And I think the same goes for again, the same story we've said over and over again about Ryan McMahon is we could use a little more on offense. We could use more consistency on offense. And if the Rockies, I mean, listen, going back in that, it was crazy. I mean, it wasn't just one Silver Slugger, multiple Silver Sluggers for multiple years, for long streaks of time, for having more Silver Slugger winners than years existence. It's awards. It's superfluous, yes. But it also shows that the Rockies at points had league-leading offense. And for the past few years, that hasn't been the case for the Rockies. And is that going to change just with the same roster? I think the upside in the potential it certainly shows itself. And I think that this Rockies offense is going to take steps forward. But I don't necessarily think the Rockies have enough to be considered a real big offensive threat. And I really hope I'm wrong. I really hope that next year, the biggest surprise of the team is the offense. The pitching, I mean, that can be a big surprise, but expectations remain relatively to pretty low for the pitching staff, just given most likely what I think is going to happen. And I don't know. I just don't think that I don't think that you can just settle alone on this, because what's interesting too is if this team does take a step forward and you lose Charlie Blackmon, for example, or I mean, that's really the biggest example. I mean, it just is, where will the consistency come from? Because no one on the Rockies team outside of Charlie Blackmon, that's a veteran, has established that offensive consistency for the club yet. So we'll have to see. But offense is it's so important, and it's an easier fix for the Rockies. And it's key to them getting back on track and getting back into the winner column. So that'll do it for that conversation. Again, you can read more about that piece over there on Purple Row. Quick little bit of Rockies news and notes here for you to close out today's episode of Locked on Rockies. Don't miss out. We're coming back here for segment number 3. This is the Locked on Rockies podcast for free and streaming on your favorite streaming service, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked on Podcast Network, free and streaming on your favorite streaming services, and of course on the Locked on Rockies YouTube channel. Rockies do make a move. They are out and adding to their pitching staff by claiming Jalen Beeks off of waivers from Tampa Bay. That now gives them 36 players on the 40-man roster. And it's not going to be a game-changing move. It is something that the Rockies can hope for a bounce back, but we'll see. Well, I don't, that's this again, this isn't going to move the roster or move the needle like we were talking about before, but it is a left-hander, which is interesting, and always a nice boost for the Rockies, I think, to add some more left-handed arms. Let's read a little bit more about Jalen Beeks from our friend Skylar Timmons over on Purple Row. I'm skipping some of the last year numbers here and over there, because I'm kind of going to more focus on his career, because it looks like, according to Skylar, he was back and forth between the Rays and AAA for the rest of the season and only appeared in 5 games, Tampa Bay, after June 13th. So not a ton there. So let's focus more on the career outlook to get a better look on what Beeks has shown so far in his career. 22.6% strikeout rate and a 9.2% walk rate, leans more towards ground balls at a 45.4% rate. Utilizes a 4-pitch mix that features a 4-seam fastball, changeup, cutter, and a slider. However, the majority of the time he works mainly off the fastball and changeup as his primary pitches. He's arbitration eligible and is slated to become a free agent in 2025. And the addition of Beeks gives the Rockies added depth for the left-handed receiver core for 2024. Brent Suter is now a free agent and will explore the market. There's still a chance of reunion, but with the addition of Beeks, the Rockies have Evan Justice, Justin Brule, Locust Gilbreth as possibilities out of the pen. Thank you, Skylar. What's interesting, I think, there, again, someone who's able to get ground balls at a high rate is always a nice plus for the Rockies. I mean, if you can keep it on the ground, that's going to benefit you, especially when you are going to have good defense behind you with this Rockies infield. That should be really, really good next year. The left-handed pitching, always good. 22.6% strikeout rate to a 9.2% walk rate is good, but nearly 10% walk rate is still something of an issue, and something that I don't really I'm not really excited by. People that can that have a history of control issues or free passes is just not exciting. But Skyler says 2 innings were the brunt of the issues for our friend here, Beeks, this season. He had a nice solid 25 game stretch from the start of the season till that June 13th moment, where then again up and down for the rest of the season. So it's the ERA can still be a little bit high, and the whip of 1.488, and so concerns to be had there. But again, waiver claim, low stakes, left-handed arm, not going to worry too much about it. Race organization too, so been around some good minds and good pitching minds as well. I think it's again, low risk move for the Rockies, and losing Brent Suter will hurt them, as I think more teams are going to be aggressive on Suter this year than we might have originally thought as the season developed. He really did pitch well for the Rockies, and always a little bit more enticing to go with the Rockies here, or not more enticing to go with the Rockies, more competitive teams than the Rockies. So I that's what I meant to say here. But some other big stuff going on. Adam Ottavino declines his player option. Maybe potentially a reunion there. And let's see. A couple of changes. The big news today, obviously, was coming out there from the Cubs, getting rid of Dave Ross there and bringing in the Brewers manager. Really big win now move for them, which was really, really crazy. I don't think that I mean, who knows how much Craig Counsell is going to make it a win now move and big of an influence. But a lot of the stuff that I saw about complaints about the Cubs is the fact that Ross didn't seem to be as good of a game manager. So the Cubs are hopefully looking for this to give them the guy and the confidence, and they paid him a lot of money, a historic 5-year, $40 million contract. So big money there. And one interesting note there about about coaching tenure and manager tenure here from our friend Patrick Lyons here on Twitter. Only 4 active managers have been employed by their team longer than Bud Black of the Rockies. Kevin Cash, Tampa Bay since 2015. Scott Service since 2016 for the Mariners. Dave Roberts, 2016 since the Dodgers. And Brian Snitker of Atlanta since 2016 as well. So Bud Black, one of the most the longest tenure in baseball when it comes to managers. And I know that's not much interest. I don't know how. It's hard to get a read on how some feel about Bud Black. A lot of people want him gone. A lot of people not happy with Bud Black, but people like myself pretty indifferent to what a managerial change would do for the Rockies there. So, all right, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining us today. Thank you for making us your first listen of the day. We are free and streaming on your favorite streaming service, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. You can find us on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel. You can find more great Colorado sports coverage with the Locked On Broncos, Locked On Avalanche, Locked On Nuggets, and Locked On Buffs podcasts available also on the Locked On Podcast Network. Folks, until next time, this is Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.